Hi everyone. I have chosen the topic of power struggles. I work in a level 4 school, so I work with children every day, and power struggles are um, that's what we do every single day. We deal with children who try to challenge us on a daily basis. This is also obviously very effective. Our power struggles is something we deal with as parents in everyday life, whether it be brushing our teeth, asking to make your bed, or even choosing what they want to eat. It is a constant battle. Um, Power struggles can be avoided with mutual respect, participation, cooperation, and effective communication. I'm going to start off by talking about the different parenting styles um, that we've learned in this course. Let's see. The dictator style is controlling, often using rewards and punishment to keep their children in boundaries set by the parent. I really liked learning about this because of the fact that by seeing that circle, it helped me understand what it is to be the dictator style, whereas it's the solid circle, and there was no really any room to having to be an individual. So what I see with that, or an example I would think of with that, would be my way or no way, my way or the highway. Um, I think for most of at least my generation, that's kind of how it was when we were children. It was like our video had said, you were not to be seen, not to be heard. You were to do as you were told, and there was no room for argument. Doormat style does not enforce rules, letting children do what they like. This is the whole other end of the spectrum. This is pretty much allowing the child to kind of run rapid, be able to do what they want. They're constantly making their own choices. Unfortunately, with this style, there's no boundaries, so there's no limits. There's no way of really corralling them in. It's kind of a free for all. Active parenting style, which is the best type of parenting style, allows parent and child to set rules through mutual respect, participation, cooperation, and effective communication as they are called for by the situation. And now like I said, the illustration of the circle with the zig lines really was something I enjoyed seeing because of the fact that you you have that limit, but you also have that freedom. And I noticed that in one of the slides that that freedom, it gets bigger. And I think that's neat. As kids get older, you start to see that that freedom gets bigger as they grow. All right. We will walk through the steps of mutual respect, participation, cooperation, and effective communication in an example of a student in my school who was in a power struggle because he wanted to have a toy at his desk after he was told to put it in his locker. So what had happened that morning was he had brought toys from school or toys from home, and he had brought them into the office, or I'm sorry, into the classroom and had them on his desk. He was asked to put the toy back into his locker. That, of course, started to engage a behavior because he did not want to put that toy back into his locker. He was told that he had a choice to put it away in his locker or that he would be given a timeout. And then we left it at that. We walked away and we allowed him to make that decision. He was given the information and he was allowed to make that decision if he was going to follow through. And we noticed for a little bit, he continued to sit there and he wanted to come up to the board because he actually wanted to participate in class. And the teacher called on him to come up and to do something on the board. And he said to the teacher, well, I've got to put my toy away in the locker first, and then I will come and do that on the board. And that was the thing. We had a limit. We had a limit set, but we also gave him free choice, and he made the right choice. And I know that doesn't happen all the time, but that just shows that he was seeking negative attention, and when we gave him a direction and we took our attention away, he had the time and and allowed himself to think himself through that he was going to put that away because that was what the direction was, and then he came back up and he joined the class because he wanted to participate with the class. So what I noticed is that we had mutual respect. And that is, respect is something you have to give in order to receive. So instead of belittling him, yelling at him, directing him, and being disrespectful to him, we told him what the expectation was, and we left it alone and allowed him to make the choice. And he followed through. He made the right choice. If we are disrespectful to a child, they will often want to rebel just to let us know that they were hurt by our behavior. So in other words, if we would have continued to push the demand, he would have most likely went into a behavior because he didn't like the way we were discussing it with him. And when we allowed to give him a choice, he respected us enough to realize that we were giving him a choice and that he was allowed to make his own decision. And this certain child, this is kind of how he is. He needs to have options, and he usually chooses the correct option. And it's really neat to see. Okay, so participation. Democracy doesn't mean you always get your way. It means you always get your say. Method of choice, always freedom of choice with limits on those choices. As I stated, we let him know what the expectation was, and then we walked away and allowed him to think through, and then he decided that that was the right choice for him, and that he knew that he needed to put that toy into his locker before he could rejoin the class. Who owns the problem? If it is the parent, discipline is provided with active communication. It is the child support to provide the active communication aid. The child is solving the problem. So then the thing what I've learned about the active communication with our students, and this also goes in with parenting, is that being able to look at the child, have a conversation with the child, rather than point fingers and tell them to do, be open to a conversation. Sometimes our students come in, they've had a bad morning. There was something that happened that morning, and we have to understand that just because my morning might have been a really nice, good morning, our students most likely had a pretty rough morning. So when they're coming in, we have to understand where they may be. And we have to pick and choose, when, like I said, with this particular student, the request was to put the toy away. And it says that we own the problem because it is policy for our school that we do not bring toys into our classroom. I would say we owned the problem because it needed to be put away before we could have him participate in class. Again, but he chose to solve that problem. So it was pretty neat to see that. Active communication. There's 5 steps. Listen actively. Listen and respond to feelings. Look for alternatives. Evaluate consequences. Offer encouragement and follow up later. This is so important with the students that I work with. It's a level 4 school, so we work with students who have behavioral issues, emotional issues. So it's an array of things. And over the course of the years that I've been working with them, I've actually learned how to be a much better active communicator with these students because of them. And I actually have become a better parent by learning how to communicate with these students, because now I can communicate with my own children a lot better. I've started to learn that when you get down to their level and you're willing to open up and hear what they have to say, and there's a lot to be said about meeting them in the middle, listening to everything that comes out, and to be able to have empathy and understand what they're feeling. Like I said, some of these students come in the morning and they may have fought with a parent, they may have spilt their food all over, they may have fought with somebody on the bus. They're coming in and they're in a really upset mood. And the last thing they need is a teacher to jump on them because they're starting to have behaviors because they're having a bad morning. When we sit and we talk with them, we go for a walk, we try to get an understanding of why they're feeling the way they're feeling and how we can help them, and co-regulate with them. Um, it tends to lead to a much better day, and the rapport with our students is a lot better. And I've also learned that that's the same thing with my children is, instead of yelling at them because they're having a bad day, I have a better way of opening my ears, looking at them, putting the phone down, and just communicating and feeling my heart and feeling what they're feeling and understanding and connecting with them. And it helps our communication and our relationship. Um, Another thing that I had learned was to begin with a gentle language that matches words, voice, tone, body language with like polite requests, the I messages, and finally the firm reminders. I'm learning this from the teachers that I work with because growing up the way I have, it was the parent always just kind of said, you do this, you do this. And I think it's a real neat technique to learn to say things in a positive spin. George, I really would hope that you would make a good choice and not throw that pencil. Molly, I really hoping that you are going to complete this assignment and then we can go to the gym. These are new technique that I've been learning and I find it that it works fantastic. We actually have a new teacher in our classroom and this is the way she does everything. And our students are responding really well to this, being able to use the I statements. Um, and taking the negative out of it, as I was learning in our videos, the don'ts. The first thing our students hear when we say don't throw the ball is throw the ball, and then they'll throw the ball. And it's amazing to see how when you change the way you say things, all of a sudden the whole conversation is completely different. Um, so I found this project to be very interesting. It's a neat thing to see how my work and my home life as a parent kind of meshes together with this. Um, and I'm looking forward to helping other parents. I obviously need a little more work because I'm a little nervous, but it's great to understand what great parenting is, and I think it's going to be very beneficial for a lot of parents. Thank you.